Okay, welcome back to the Investing Markets and Money podcast. And we are talking mining again this week. And joining us on the program today, we have Bruce MacLachlan, who's the president and COO of Bold Ventures, who's joining us from Toronto, where I believe he is at the PDAC mining conference, always well attended by the Canadian mining community.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy this year.
I can imagine, yeah, the feedback I've been getting is that the sentiment is much more positive in 2026.
Yeah, it's amazing what a year makes.
Yeah.
It's,
To kick off with, for those who are not familiar with Bold Ventures, can you give us a very brief overview of the company?
yeah, so Bold Ventures is a junior mining company exploring primarily in Ontario and for gold and base metals, critical minerals. We also have a property in Quebec that's primarily a nickel property. And yeah, we just recently started drilling our flagship property, which is called Burchell Lake. We completed 4 holes recently. Yeah.
And I was going to actually ask you specifically about the Burchell project as well. Can you update us on that project and what the progress has been like there?
So the Burchell Lake is along strike from the Gold X2's property, which hosts about 6 million ounces of gold. In the fall of 2024, we made a new gold discovery, which we call the 111 zone, where we had samples which ran up to 68 grams gold. We carried out a large stripping program, backhoe trenching program, in the fall of last year, and in the middle of January this year, we started drilling. We recently completed 4 holes. We have over 700 samples into the lab, a drill core, and we moved the drill about a week ago to another property in the area called Wilcorp. We're going to allow the assays to catch up from Burchell, and then we'll move the drill back and do some more drilling at Burchell.
Gotcha. And you also have a second project, Tracks in Gold.
Yeah,
Where you've also been drilling.
Traxon's in the same areas. So we have 3 properties basically in sort of the same area: Traxon, Wilcorp, and Burchell. And we'll be moving the drill maybe in a few weeks to to Traxon and carry out upwards of around 1,000 meters of drilling there.
Okay, and Trackson's still very much another exploration stage project.
Yeah, they generally all are, except are some of our holdings up in the Ring of Fire. But yeah, they're all pretty early stage properties. We'll drill through 3 properties this winter, and we'll test multiple showings on each property. So I think that betters the chance of success.
And you have an interest in a property in the Ring of Fire as well. Now, this may not be something. The Ring of Fire itself is not necessarily something some of our listeners will be familiar with. Can you give us an overview of what that is and why that's important?
So the Ring of Fire was found about 20 years ago. It's several hundred kilometers north of Thunder Bay. It's very remote. There's no roads. It's probably one of the world's largest swamps, basically. So there's not a lot of rock exposed. The people that went first up there, went up there looking for diamonds, and they drilled some holes on some airborne conductors, and ended up finding massive sulfides. First off was massive sulfides which contain nickel, and later on chromite. There's copper zinc deposits that were found about 20 years ago. So Bold has a 10% carried interest in the Black Horse chromite deposit. For some of your listeners, it may not sound like a lot, but the economics of putting the chromite deposit into production, somebody will need that 10%. So we feel that someday, once the roads get built and some infrastructure gets built, then somebody's going to come knocking on the door looking for that 10%. So down the road, potentially it's worth a lot of money. We also have, and on top of that, we also have over 800 claims along strike to the west of the main part of the Ring of Fire, which cover several airborne conductors, which have also never been drilled. So it's not something we're currently working on, but down the road, we feel it has a lot of value.
Would you say that it would significantly contribute to Bold's valuation going forwards?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. What that value is, it's hard to say. I mean, the Ontario government recently signed agreements with Webequie and Martin Falls First Nations, and they say that the road construction will start in June of this year. So that's sort of a pivotal development in the Ring of Fire. It's been a long haul. Like I said, it's been about 20 years. I personally worked up there for Noront, who found many of the deposits up there. I worked for them for about 2.5 years as exploration manager. So yeah, I'm very familiar with the Ring of Fire and some of those deposits.
So as a company, you're actually quite interesting because you have that balance between you've got exposure in the gold, precious metals segment, but also in the critical minerals area as well.
We also have a property in Quebec, which is primarily it's a nickel target, and we put a press release out on that a couple of days ago, where we took some claims that were in a private company that I personally own, and we brought them into Bold. So we're going to start a geophysical survey hopefully next week and get the project ready for drilling.
And how do you prioritize capital between the precious metals side of the business and the critical minerals side?
Well, like Burchell Lake is a mix of gold and copper and zinc. And again, and same thing with Wilcorp. Wilcorp has a historical gold showing on it, but last fall we did some prospecting in the vicinity of some IP conductors, and we found some pretty high grade copper, silver, and gold samples up to 4.3 grams gold, over 200 grams silver, about 9 ounces, and 1.8% copper. So that's never been drilled, and last week we drilled the first hole into that target.
Oh, great. The Farwell project, I wanted to ask you about as well. You've done some VTEM surveys of that too. What's the sort of timetable look like for that?
We are currently negotiating with the local First Nations on that, and we anticipate an agreement in a few weeks. We actually met with them yesterday. So what we would do initially is put some guys on the ground, do some basic prospecting of some of the geophysical targets, and then get it ready for drilling.
And you've already touched on this. Talking about a growth strategy for the company. You recently expanded into exploration at Springpole East, I believe, and then you've mentioned the Jutel. I'm probably mispronouncing it. It's probably Jutel. In Quebec. What sort of specific geological characteristics or strategic advantages made those projects attractive to you as addition to the company portfolio?
In the case of Springpole, Coleman Robertson, who's our vice president of exploration, he and I personally worked for another junior mining company about 5 years ago, and we liked what we saw. The ground came open, and the junior that held the ground at the time, we called them up and we said, "Your claims came open. Do you have any intention of restaking the ground?" And they said they didn't have the money. We asked them if they mind that we stake the ground. So they said no. So we staked it. It's right along strike with First Mining's deposit, where they've outlined about 5 million ounces of gold. So we think it's a great fit. We haven't worked the ground yet for Bold, but we hope to put some guys in there this summer and do some prospecting, soil sampling, and some lake bottom sediment sampling. So it's very early days there, but its proximity to the First Mining's deposit, Springpole, it's right along strike from it. We're contiguous with their ground. So.
And you mentioned already you're obviously quite experienced in the Canadian mining sector, and you've been involved in some big discoveries as well. How does that experience of yours shape the company's exploration strategy, and what sort of geological indicators do you look for that you think others might not or might overlook looking at these kind of projects?
Yeah, early in my career, I worked for a major mining company called Noranda. Noranda is no longer around, but I worked for them for 18 years. And in the summer of 1987, myself and two other guys flew into a place called Eagle River. It was a property that Noranda optioned from another junior company called Central Crude. And our current CEO worked uh, for Central Crude at the time. That summer, we found what is now called the Eagle River gold deposit being mined by Wesdome. It's still in production today. It's it's making piles of money because of their grades. They average like 15 grams per ton gold. So that experience has, I think, helped me in my role today uh, um, to understand what to look for when we explore these properties for gold. The majority of our properties are in close proximity to known discoveries, but not necessarily. I mean, if an opportunity comes by, we talk to local prospectors in Thunder Bay and whatnot all the time. They come to us with their properties, and we review them. And if we feel it's a good fit, then we consider optioning the properties from them.
And when we look ahead for the next 12 months, what do you think are the most important catalysts with the company that investors should be paying attention to?
Over the next at least few months will be a steady stream of results from the ongoing drilling programs. We'll probably be drilling for at least the next 2 months. The labs are getting slower with the uptick in the business. Like I mentioned earlier, we recently submitted 700 samples to the lab. I I anticipate that the results for those will take at least a few weeks, maybe possibly more than a month. And I think we'll probably have ongoing assays coming in uh, probably for at least the next couple of months plus. And then soon it's going to be spring here, and then we'll start doing field work um, to look for for more targets for future drilling. So yeah, we're going to have a lot of news coming over the next many months, in the next 12 months.
So something to pay attention to. Um, and my last question really is you've obviously got quite a diversified portfolio across multiple jurisdictions in Canada. Junior mining explorers can face dilution challenges, and how do you balance advancing these multiple projects while at the same time protecting shareholder value?
I believe that you need a variety of projects at different stages. Now, for the most part, most of Bold's projects are fairly early stage, but some are more early than others. Like Springpole, for example, is not nearly as advanced as say Burchell is. Um, you know, in this business, most projects will never become anything. So I think you need a variety of projects at different stages, and therefore it helps with not diluting the stock too much, like you mentioned. We currently have just under 100 million shares out. Um, I think compared to some of our peers, that's pretty good. There's several companies out there. They have 3, 4, 500 million shares out. So we've been trying to protect shareholder dilutions. Um, we currently have more than $1 million in the bank. The 3 projects that we're going to drill this winter, they're all road accessible. So the per cost per meter to drill these is relatively inexpensive. Probably around $350 to $400 a meter all up. We don't need helicopters to drill these properties. So in that way, yeah, it helps minimize shareholder dilution.
Yeah, excellent. And so, as I mentioned, you're at the PDAC conference this week as we're talking. Just to finish off with overall your impressions that there's a lot more bullish sentiment in the mining sector, particularly around
Yeah,
precious
what a year difference a year makes. You can see. like we attended a Metals Investor Forum in May of last year in Vancouver, and you could see things starting to pick up. But yeah, it's this isn't quite back to the good old days, 20 years ago or so, but it's getting there. I'm not sure where the attendance numbers are, but it's definitely busy, and it's long overdue.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been a long dry spell. I agree with
yeah, it
you.
has.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, no, good luck
exactly.
with the rest of the conference, and thanks for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me.
The content of this podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. The views and opinions expressed by guests or hosts are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the armchair trader. Investments can go up and down in value, and you may not get back the amount you originally invested. Past performance is not a reliable indicator of future results. We do not provide any personal investment, tax, or legal advice. Always do your own research or seek independent professional advice before making any financial decisions. The Armchair Trader is a media company and is not authorized or regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.